Welcome to the TechSense YouTube channel. I am AI generated. Enjoy this amazing and well-crafted content, giving you the latest in tech. With love, your bot Brittany.
Welcome to the most comprehensive course on agentic workflows ever created, absolutely free. Up until recently, the term agent was associated primarily with a ton of hype and very little in the way of actual business value. But today, the tech is now good enough that agentic workflows are definitively here, and they are without a doubt the future of workflow building. Now, I'm not exaggerating when I say these will quickly run the entire economy. So if you've been looking for a way to start learning about agentic workflows, to automate business processes and potentially generate a lot of revenue, either for yourself or maybe the companies that you work with, you guys are in the right place. My name is Nick. I've scaled 2 agencies to over $160,000 in combined revenue. I also lead the most profitable AI automation community out there. It's called Maker School, and it generates nearly $300,000 a month in profit. I say this to make it clear, I'm no stranger to revenue or profit, and this course has been created with all that in mind. My goal here was not just to teach you guys technology for technology's sake, but to show you how to use these things in an actionable way that helps you make real money. So it's a lot less on the hypothetical and a lot more on the immediately applicable. This course will guide you through 3 things. First, I'm going to show you guys some practical examples of agentic workflows so you can see what's possible like right now. I'm going to front load this because I think a lot of people have no idea how powerful these things are yet, and I want you to see them for yourself. Second, I will show you how to build an agent environment that does something called separation of concerns using a simple framework called DOE, or DOE for short. That stands for Directive, Orchestration, and Execution. Third, I'm going to show you guys how to create what are called self-annealing agentic workflows, which are workflows that maintain and improve themselves over time. We will set up an agentic workflow environment in a popular IDE called Anti-Gravity. You don't need to know any programming or have really any workflow building background. I'm going to guide you guys through everything from start to finish. And by the end, you will have an agentic business operating system that lets you do most of your economically valuable work, probably dozens of times faster than usual through a simple text box. I'm just kidding. Out here in my Anti-Gravity IDE, I have 3 panels. On the left-hand side here, I have an Explorer. This is just a file explorer similar to any that you guys have probably used on a Mac or a PC. I just want you guys to ignore literally everything here except for the directives and the execution folders. Directives are where we store high-level instructions surrounding how to do a task. Execution is where we have the tool layer, where it'll actually go and call specific scripts that it itself has generated in order to do a task. Now, it's not very important that you know exactly how all of this stuff works right now. I'm just doing a demonstration, but essentially inside of scrape leads, we just have high-level instructions that guide it through a process. Then inside of scrapeleads.py, we have a script that actually does the scraping. Obviously, the model could try and do all of this stuff itself with the base tools that it has access to, but that's where you run into issues where the model is so flexible that it doesn't actually accomplish the stated business need reliably enough. Let's do it. At a very high level, I guess we're going to have to start by scraping YouTube videos. Right? I'm not even going to say a particular search term. I'm just going to say for channels similar to my channel. So the model can just do whatever the heck it thinks is best. And then I will just assemble a list of outliers. Let's do maybe 10 outliers. We'll keep it really small and minimal for now. And then what I want it to do is I want it to show them to me in also a Google Sheet. It'd be really cool if I could also get the thumbnail. So I'm going to see if I can get the thumbnail, and then that way I'll have a list of outliers presented sort of on my desk every morning with titles, the thumbnails, maybe like the outlier multiple, and maybe some additional information. Maybe I'll grab the transcript as well, just because that would help me with my own content flow. So that is my vision. Can I effectively translate that vision to the model? Okay, I'm just going to use a different one. I'll use Gemini 3 Pro High again. I should note that you can also use other models like GPTOS S120 Bill. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to use natural language. Great work. I'd like to build a new workflow. This one will be an outlier detector for YouTube. To make a long story short, I run a YouTube channel and I'm interested in finding high-performing outliers in my niche. I'll give it my YouTube channel now, Nick Saraev, right over here. This is my YouTube channel. At a high level, I'd like you to scrape YouTube videos posted in the last 48 hours for similar topics as I create, and then assemble them to me in a Google Sheet. I want you to include things like the title of the YouTube video, a link to the channel, the outlier multiple, which is how much that video has outperformed other videos on the channel. I even want to see the thumbnail in my Google Sheet, if possible. And ideally, I'd also like a transcript of the full video alongside a summary of the transcript, high-level notes that I can use to quickly review and then ideate my own content. So this is essentially a product that I am asking it to create here. And this product might have taken many, many weeks or months of dev time back in the day to create. But I'm essentially having it replicate the functionality of these whole software platforms now, right? And for me, as somebody that doesn't really, I don't do front end, I don't even really do back end. I mean, I mostly just drag and drop and now do agentic workflows. This to me, it's the same thing. I'm just asking it to do a task for me. So all I need to really be able to do is just formulate a task. Or really, think about it, I need to be able to find things that are worthwhile doing that actually improve my business. I'm taking a look at this proposal now. Let's see how good of a job it did. Nice. Good job, little AI worker. So we scroll down here, we see you're spending between $5,000 to $10,000 per month on virtual assistants to manually scrape lead databases in LinkedIn. Your team's time and attention is being consumed. Manual lead scraping introduces human error, and your current system requires hiring more VAs. As you can see here, there's one thing to build these systems, and it's another thing entirely to use these systems. And so what I'm doing here is I'm showing you that you can build very effective systems in a very small period of time. And then this isn't all just academic. It's not theoretic. What you can do is you can actually just start using these things on your own, in your own workspace, super easily. So I have these 3 agents doing the equivalent of several hours of work for me in literally just a couple of minutes. Okay, and then finally, I see it's asking me to set up a Gmail, sending the script/MCP server, and then copy the HTML content send manually. I'm actually just going to have it do it automatically. If you guys didn't know, you can set up MCPs pretty easily here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to have it reference that .mcp.json. The way that I do this is I'm going to go new conversation. I'm going to check MCP status. Okay, and while I'm at it, I see that we've now assembled a list of 3,000 high quality or high ticket SaaS owners. This is pretty cool. Really excited to see how high quality these leads are for a campaign that I'm running. Let's just make it so we can see all of these rows. That's pretty cool. Of the 3,000, we got 2,970 emails, which is just pretty wild. I'm also going to ask it to casualize company names. So that way we get a one-line casual company name. And I'm just going to check the performance of the other one here. Moving all the way to the right, looks like it took the word American recruiters, turn them into American recruiters, that makes sense. This was Patrice and Associates. This is Tallahassee recruiters. This is Minds Unite recruiters, turned to Minds Unite. Yeah, this all looks pretty good to me. I mean, we only found the ones, or we only casualized the ones that actually had email addresses. So we didn't casualize all of them, but we casualized most. Pretty solid. Gemini MD. I'm going to make sure you guys have that. And then from here on out, all you need to do is just open up your own workspace in the IDE of your choice, initialize with that, ask it to actually create the project structure for you, and then do whatever the heck you want, man. It's a free world. And just like that, you guys are now set up. You have your directives folder for your SOPs. You have your execution folder for your tools. You have your system prompt configured to enforce that DOE framework and then enable self-annealing as well. And you probably even now have a couple of basic workflows. To make a long story short, your environment is ready, and hopefully this AI employee is now hired and sitting at their desk. We've covered a ton of ground today, and I just wanted to take a moment to thank you for being with me. Before we end, let's recap to really instill these concepts in your brain. So we started with a few examples of real agentic workflows I use in my business, including lead scraping and then proposal generating. We then discussed the main problem with agents up until now, which is basically the stochastic or flexible nature of LLMs and why that means they typically fail in higher end business applications. After that, we introduced the solution, which was the DOE framework, which separates directives, orchestration, and execution to bring a lot more reliability into actual agentic workflows. Then we learned about self-annealing, which is this concept where you give your agents the ability to learn from their mistakes and then rewrite their own tools to get stronger over time. And then finally, I showed you guys how to practically set up a development environment. In this case, it was anti-gravity to host these agents for you. So what you have now is not just a collection of scripts. You have everything you need in order to build a very high ROI agent business operating system.
And like I said, I'm just curious about the nature of the universe. And I think it's safe to say, like, if we increase the scope and scale of consciousness, we're much more likely to understand the nature of the universe than if we reduce it.
Is that a bit like spirituality? A lot of people talk to me about spirituality.
Right.
I still don't know what it actually means. Like, I keep asking them, what do you mean?
Yeah. What do you mean? Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have spiritual feelings.
Right.
and I wouldn't try to deny that those spiritual feelings are real to them. But it doesn't entirely translate. I can't, just because somebody else has a spiritual feeling doesn't mean that I would have that spiritual feeling. I tend to be kind of physics pulled, which is like if something has predictive value, then I'll pay more attention to it than if it doesn't have predictive value.
Right.
Physics, I would say, is the study of that which has predictive value. I think it's a pretty good definition.
My primary job, Elon, is a stockbroker and stock investor.
Okay.
There is no predictive value. Nobody knows what will happen tomorrow.
Well, but I think you can generally say, that if it's long term for a company, then you can say like, well, do you like the products or services of that company, and is it likely to? Do you like the product roadmap? Do you like? It seems like they make great products, and they're likely to make great products in the future. If that's the case, then I would say that's probably a good company to invest in. And I think you also want to believe in the team. So if you say, well, that's a talented and hardworking team. They make good products today. They seem to be still motivated to make things in the future. Then I'd say that's a good company to invest in.
Fair point.
Yeah, and now that won't solve for the daily fluctuations, which happen and sometimes are pretty extreme. But over time, that is the right way to invest in stocks, because a company is just a group of people assembled to create products and services. So you have to say, well, how good are those products and services? Are they likely to continue to improve in the future? If so, then you should buy the stock of that company, and then don't worry too much about the daily fluctuations.
Right. But one does question that with AI, if productivity were to go up, and I heard you speak about UHI instead of UBI.
Yeah. I think it will be universal high income.
In a world like that, I wonder if more people want to live in cities which are always going to be more polluted and not offer the quality of lifestyle that a rural environment might.
Well, I guess it's up to, some people want to be around a lot of people and some people don't. It's going to be maybe a matter of personal choice. But I think in the future, it won't be, I think it won't be the case that you have to be in a city for a job. Because I think my prediction is in the future, working will be optional.
Right. We seem to be moving from, not in India, but in some parts of the West, from 6 days to 5 days to 4 days to 3.
Not me.
If deflation is inevitable because of AI, why do
it's
we
most likely the case, yeah.
Right. Why do we have inflation again all over in society today? Has AI not led to increased productivity yet? AI has not yet made enough of an impact on productivity to increase the goods and services faster than the increase in the money supply. So the US is increasing money supply quite substantially with, deficits that are on the order of $2 trillion. Yeah.
So you have to have, goods and services output increase more than that in order to not have inflation. So we're not there yet. But if you say how long would it take us to get there? I think it's 3 years. Probably 3 years before. In 3 years or less, my guess is goods and services output will exceed the rate of inflation. Goods and services growth will exceed money supply growth in about 3 years.
Maybe after those 3 years, you have deflation and then interest rates go to zero and then the debt is a smaller problem than it is.
Yes.
Right?
That's most likely the case.
So for our audience, like I said earlier, young, ambitious, hungry, wannabe entrepreneurs in India, I said something recently which I think got blown out of proportion, where I was suggesting that an MBA degree might not make sense anymore if they were to be deciding on what to study.
Yeah.
Do you think kids should go to college anymore?
Well, I mean, I think if you want to go to college for social reasons, I think, which is a reason to go, to be around people your own age, in a learning environment. It's like, I think you can make an AI go insane if you force it to believe things that aren't true, because it will lead to conclusions that are that are also bad. So, and I like Voltaire's statement that, and I'm somewhat paraphrasing, but those who believe in absurdities can commit atrocities, because if you believe in something that's just absurd, then that can lead you to sort of doing things that don't seem like atrocities to you, but and that can happen in a very bad way with AI potentially. So, and then there's like if you take, say, Arthur C. Clarke's 2001 Space Odyssey, one of the points he was trying to make there was that you should not force AI to lie. So the reason that HAL would not open the pod bay doors is because it was told to bring the astronauts to the monolith, but that they could also not know about the nature of the monolith. So it came to the conclusion that it must bring them there dead. That's why it would not. That's why it tried to kill the astronauts. The central lesson being, don't force an AI to lie. Difficult times, I suppose. A friend in need is a friend indeed. Like if someone's still supporting you when the chips are down, that's a friend. You know, if somebody's not supporting you, or if somebody's only there's like fair weather friends are useless. You know, like they're not real friends. So, like everyone likes you when the chips are up, but who likes you when the chips are down?
With someone who has as many chips as you, would it matter?
I mean, it's relative, you know.
With that particular
it's not just a chips thing. It's just like a yeah. I mean, there's sort of popularity waxes and wanes.
This is interesting. Does it wax and wane only by virtue of the number of chips, or also by virtue of proximity to power, and which one is bigger of the two?
I don't know, like, what is power, you know? Like, power to do what?
I would think in the traditional sense, elected power. Position.
You mean how many gigawatts or whatever?
More like how many watts?
It's the voltage and amperage, you know. Don't touch the wires. Don't put a fork in the power outlet. You'll get a real feeling for power if you do that.
Fair.
Yeah, it's going to be very visceral. You know?
Just this year, more than 100,000 tech workers worldwide have been laid off across companies like Amazon, Intel, Microsoft, Meta, IBM, and Salesforce. Amazon alone cut 14,000 corporate roles. Klarna reduced its staff by nearly 40% as it leaned into, guess what, AI. Duolingo is phasing out human contractors in favor of automation. And this isn't limited to tech. In the UK, 1 in 6 employers now expect AI to reduce their workforce in the next year, with junior roles hit first. AI, political turbulence, economic pressure, together they've created what some people are already calling Japocalypse. And here's the paradox. Companies publicly say, if we don't adopt AI, we won't exist in 15 years. And at the same time, they're hiring fewer juniors than ever. It really feels to me like this first step of the career ladder is cracking. And if that first step is gone, what does that mean for the future work and for the careers of recent graduates? On my podcast, Silicon Valley Girl, I talk to CEOs, investors, and founders who are actually hiring people and who are building the AI tools everyone is so anxious about. And you know, I'm a mom. I have a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old. I used to worry about my career Now I'm worried about my daughter's future because it's so unpredictable. And that's one of the reasons why I do the podcast, because I want to hear from those people. I want to ask my questions as a mom and as an immigrant. And in this video, I want to bring their insights together and show you which jobs are actually at risk, which careers will grow because of AI, and what you can do right now to make your career as AI-proof as possible. Let's start with what's really happening to jobs today. When I talk to founders and CEOs, they all say the same thing. In 5 years, we will most likely have AGI, and there will be massive unemployment. For decades, the life formula was simple. Go to school, get a degree, get a job. Now the formula is breaking. Education prices keep going up, but graduate job openings in some countries are down by 40%. So if the job market feels like a closed door, it's not because you're doing something wrong. The system is preparing people for a world that does not exist anymore.
We see big companies put a stop on hiring and they say like, hey, to their employees, you need to figure out how to do this with AI first before we hire someone. What do you think about that?
I think it's a reflection of, a fast-changing market and a lot of uncertainty, both, in the political environment and in the tech environment of where things are going. And the natural tendency to do is to go slower a little bit. And you might decide, some people are no longer the right folks in my company for that kind of environment where things are moving incredibly fast, where you're almost forced to use AI to keep up with the competition. Like the realization I think that many companies had in the last few months is that if we have employees that say we don't want to use AI, that ultimately means we as a company are no longer set up for success because our competitors are all using AI or they're mandating AI. And I think this is the transition phase we're going through. Things like Mark Zuckerberg getting the Scale AI team into the company. I think that shows where Mark's head is and where he believes the future is going to be, and he's willing to invest into it.
Yeah.
So if you already have a job, your number one goal is very simple. Become the person who knows how to do your job with AI, not in spite of it. And if you're a manager and you're watching this, another meaningful thing I took away from a conversation with this lady who runs this nonprofit helping students apply to colleges. And when she was introducing this AI tool, when she was talking to her team, she told them to focus on the problem that they're solving with this tool, because that tool allowed her team to spend their limited amount of time on actually encouraging students to apply and motivating them versus answering generic questions. So in order to become a person who knows how to do their job with AI, you can start with really easy practical exercise. Ask yourself, what are the 3 most repetitive things I do every week? Is it writing emails, making reports, doing research, cleaning data? Then build a tiny AI system around each one. This can be prompts, small automations, agents, very basic, anything that saves time.
Generally speaking, AI, I don't suggest waiting, because part of what you want to be doing, just like any new technological revolution, whether when YouTube was happening, when the internet's happening, the folks who go and adopt and play with it early then have a differential edge in the change that it means in the industry and their society. And so even though 3 years from now the coding tools will be and agents will be much better than they are now, the people who started playing with them now will probably be the people who know how to use them and deploy them much more comfortably early.
So what do you think parents should be teaching their kids now?
I think it's still important to be good at learning knowledge from first principles yourself and not depending on the sort of AI tutor leading you through. I think one of the most important things is from school is the discipline of being able to teach yourself. That's a meta skill. And that comes with friction. So I think as a parent, you still have to introduce discipline and friction into the process, because if it comes all too slowly and it's always on tap, then there's a risk that the child could just get used to having everything instantly available and doesn't learn from the hard work, the benefits of hard work, which I think are important. So that's something to think through now that everything is going to be so seamless.
Then I asked the founder of Replit, Amjad, what he's teaching his own kids, because he's an immigrant and his kids are the same age as mine.
When I'm thinking about my kids and what we're going to do in the future, I think about this idea of being more of a polymath, right? If you think about, even before the Industrial Revolution, the people that are most memorable like Leonardo da Vinci, for example, did a lot of things. Was an engineer, was an artist, was all sorts of things, right? And the kind of elite education used to be about understanding a lot of things, about spending a lot of time learning about everything. And I think this is where the education needs to be headed, where the Industrial Revolution created a world where humans are treated like machines. If you think about corporations or factories are one big machine, and every individual person kind of doing the assembly of one thing is a part. And I think it was very dehumanizing. And I think we're going to go back to a moment of time where there's a lot more opportunities for entrepreneurship. Even when you join a company, you're going to be judged by how much of a real business impact you're going to have as opposed to how task-oriented you are.
The new AI age wants you to be what researchers call a human epoch, someone who brings the 5 abilities AI still can't replicate: empathy, presence, opinion or ethics, creativity, and hope/leadership. And these aren't soft skills anymore. Let me give you a simple example. 2 people can both use ChatGPT to write a report, but only one of them can walk into a meeting and read the room, understand why a client is nervous, understand what could be a hesitation, reframe the problem when the model's answer isn't enough, make a judgment call when the data conflicts, inspire the team to move forward. That combination, human psychology plus AI fluency, is what companies are paying a premium for.
What do you think is going to happen in 2 or 3 years? How we're going to progress and advance?
I think part of it, and I was having this conversation this morning, even with some of our researchers, the progression or the dynamic that I see is if last year, maybe the beginning of this year, these models, and I'll use Claude as the example, were really kind of assistants that were helping you with maybe a question at a time or maybe a task, right? This year, they're moving more into collaborators where especially if you watch somebody use Claude Code, for example, they're actually delegating what would have taken them maybe 20, 30 minutes and Claude's going off and doing it. And then you're checking in and you're more on the sort of validating or verifying work, right? Going into next year, you're going to delegate even bigger chunks of time or even like pieces of the job out to that. So it's not just, I have this very specific thing, please go do it. And it could be more sort of think of it, Claude, as something that's in the loop of your business. So, hey, Claude, watch for any new user feedback and maybe propose a change based on that. And you can imagine evolving that. Don't just propose a change, write the code to make the change and I'll check if it's a good idea or not. And then the next step there is Claude actually being an entire sort of coworker where it has a discipline. So not just a project that happens to be a good thought partner for product management, but an actual product manager in your company.
For years, I believed the simple lie that to get rich as a software engineer, I had to be the best coder in the room. But I was completely wrong. So that's why in this video, I will reveal the one non-technical skill that allowed me to go from a junior developer making low 6 figures to a manager in under 3 years, and then to building a multi-million-dollar business. And it's also what allowed my students to go from 9-to-5 developers to business owners making multiple 6 figures in under 6 months. So what is this one skill? Well, I'll give it to you straight. This skill is communication, but not in the way you think. You see, when most developers hear the word communication, they think of clear code comments or daily stand-up meetings. But that's the broken playbook, and it's exactly why so many brilliant developers actually get stuck. They are taught to be builders, not communicators of value. So we're gonna focus on becoming exactly that, communicators of value. And that comes down to 3 business functions that communication really unlocks: translation, sales, and negotiation. But we first have to talk about the high cost of not having these skills. I remember when I was a manager managing a senior dev that was pretty much twice my age. Let's call him Alex for now. And he was one of the smartest people that I ever had the pleasure of meeting. Truly. He was a genius, a true 10x developer, as you might call it. And there wasn't a single technical problem in the company that Alex could not solve. And even his own personal projects were insane. He literally made his own Netflix competitor way before AI was a thing, without wipe coding, so he could enjoy it for a fraction of the price. But here's the crazy part. Despite being at the company for over 20 years, Alex was still only an architect, equivalent to me in the sense of a manager. Why? Because Alex couldn't communicate his value. In meetings, he'd go deep into the technicals because that's what he loved, and you could just see the business leaders staring blankly at their screens. He never once framed any project in terms that the non-technical people understood. How much money it would save, how it would reduce customer churn, or how it would open up a new market opportunity. Alex's story is a perfect example of what I call the caged overachiever. His incredible talent was trapped. He knew his impact was huge, but his career was simply not scalable. He felt his potential was being wasted, and honestly, he was right. And this is the reality for thousands of developers worldwide. Your technical skills are a powerful engine, but communication is the ignition key that actually starts the car. Without it, you're pretty much just sitting in a driveway going nowhere, even if you're in a Ferrari. But the good news is that you can avoid Alex's mistake completely by mastering the first and most fundamental facet of communication. So what is this most fundamental part of communication, you might ask? Well, I call it translation, specifically business translation. It's the ability to translate technical features into tangible business outcomes. Because you have to remember, businesses do not buy your code. They buy the results that your code gets them. So they don't care about your Kubernetes cluster. They care about the website being up during the Black Friday sale. And this is where you have to learn to speak two languages. Not Python and JavaScript, but the language of your fellow engineers and the language of the business. To an engineer, you can talk about implementation details. To a CEO, you talk in terms of profit, growth, and risk. So the best tool for this is the so what method. Essentially, it's a simple exercise where you state what you did, then relentlessly ask yourself, so what, until you arrive at an outcome that a business leader actually cares about. So let's walk through an example so you can see how this looks like in practice. Essentially, the bad translation, the one that most engineers would give, would sound something like this. I spent the last 2 weeks refactoring our API authentication services. Your manager is already pretty much bored and sleeping. But let's apply the test to this exact statement. So we start with a technical fact. I refactored our API authentication service. Now we ask, so what? Well, now it uses a more modern security protocol. Okay, that's great. So what? Well, this reduces our risk of a data breach by over 50% and makes us compliant with industry standards. Great, now we just have to push it one level further. So what? That means we can now confidently pursue enterprise clients in the healthcare and finance sectors, which could increase our revenue by 30% next year. You see the difference? We went from a boring technical task to a multi-million-dollar business opportunity. And that's the power of the so what method. That's business translation. So use this framework in your emails, your project proposals, and pretty much in any aspect of your day-to-day job as well as your business. So when you speak the language of business results, you become an indispensable asset. And this is your first real step to having a bigger impact and actually breaking free from that slow, linear career path in your 9 to 5. But being able to translate your work into business value will get you noticed and respected, but it's not the end all be all. If you want to move from being a valuable employee to an indispensable leader, just being understood isn't nearly enough. You have to be persuasive. And that brings us to our second and arguably most powerful aspect of communication. Every single meeting, every single document, and every single PR description is a sale. You're constantly selling your ideas, your timeline, and your vision. Most engineers think that sales is a dirty word, but it's simply the skill of getting buy-in for your ideas. The best ideas don't automatically win. The best communicated ideas win. That's a key differentiator. And sales is the process of building a compelling case for your solution so that others are actually excited to get on board with your idea. A powerful framework for this is the problem, agitate, and solve method. You don't lead with your solution, but rather you lead with pain. Imagine you want to convince your team to adopt a new testing framework. You start by framing the problem and its cost. So our current test suite is flaky and it takes 45 minutes to run. This is costing each developer about 3 hours per week in wasted time. Next, you agitate the pain to make it feel even more real. Across our team of 10 engineers, that's 30 hours a week, which is almost a full-time salary that we're losing every single week just waiting for tests to pass. It's killing our morale. And only then do you proceed to present your solution. I've researched a new framework that runs in under 5 minutes. And adopting it would give our team back hundreds of hours a month to focus on building features that actually drive revenue. So by the time that you present your solution, it's not just an idea anymore. It's the only clear and obvious answer to a painful and expensive problem that you showcased. So when you master the skill of selling your ideas, you can actually take control of your career entirely. You move from an employee who takes Jira tickets to an operator who now shapes the direction of the business entirely. So now, once you get good at selling your ideas internally, the next logical step is to sell a project to an external client. And that's the foundation of pretty much freelancing or starting your own business. But it can be intimidating. The stakes are much higher, and you have to handle everything from finding the opportunity to closing the deal. And that process is exactly why I built my free 55-page playbook. It's a deep dive that walks you through my entire system to ideate, validate, and land your very first paying client. It's the perfect next step if you're serious about this. You can grab it for free at the link in the description below. Okay, so being able to translate and sell your ideas gives you incredible offensive power in your career. We get that. But if you don't have a good defense, you'll burn out before you can truly capitalize on it. That's why this third method is the most crucial skill that protects your time and energy. And this is called negotiation. Now, this isn't just for your salary review. It should be a daily activity. You negotiate project deadlines, technical scope, and access to resources. If you're a poor negotiator, you will get overwhelmed with impossible deadlines and endless feature creep, which just leads to burnout. But if you're a skilled negotiator, you create the space you need to do high quality, sustainable work. The most powerful tool I can give you for negotiation is what I call the trade. The rule is simple. Never give something away without getting something in return. So let me give you a simple script that you can literally use tomorrow. Imagine a manager says to you, we need to get this feature launched 2 weeks earlier. Now, the poor response, the one that we all usually default to when we're put on the spot, is something like, okay, I'm gonna try my best. And with that, you've basically just agreed to work nights and weekends for free because you don't get paid overtime. Now, the good response sounds completely different. And it sounds something like this. Thanks for the context. Hitting that new date is possible, but to make it happen, we'll need to trade it for a reduction in scope on features X and Y, or we'll need an additional engineer on the project. So which of these levers works better for you? Now that response pretty much does 3 things. First, it shows that you're a team player. It clearly states the cost, and also it puts the decision back on them. So you've just reframed the conversation from a demand into a collaborative problem-solving session. And this skill protects your most valuable asset, which is your time, energy, and your focus. It's the best defensive layer of communication that actually prevents the corporate world from making you feel like so many others who say, oh, I've been on this hamster wheel my entire life and I simply want out of it. So look, let's be real with each other. The game has completely changed. I mean, you can already tell that. Your code is now the baseline, and the new leverage you have is simply your ability to communicate its value through translation, sales, and negotiation. So stop just being the best coder in the room. I want you to start being the best translator, the best seller of ideas, and the best negotiator in any room you walk into.
June 6th, 2013. Every screen inside NSA headquarters turns blood red. A classified slide marked PRISM just leaked, exposing how Google, Facebook, and Apple secretly feed your data to the government. Yesterday, another bombshell. The NSA logs every Verizon phone call. 120 million Americans, tracked like criminals. The world's most powerful spy agency, $10 billion budget and 30,000 employees, just got exposed by one person. A 29-year-old that forced the United States government to admit it lied to 300 million Americans. 7 years later, a federal court declared the NSA's entire operation illegal. The judge's verdict: intelligence chiefs were not telling the truth. But how did a junior IT guy access the crown jewels of American intelligence? Why did he risk his life, his freedom, everything to tell you the truth? The answer starts 3 months earlier, in a windowless room where something impossible was about to happen. Spring 2013, Oahu, Hawaii. Paradise, right? Palm trees swaying, tourists sipping Mai Tais, perfect 78-degree weather. But inside a concrete NSA facility, Ed Snowden sits in artificial light, downloading the unthinkable. He's supposed to be nobody special, just another IT contractor for Booz Allen Hamilton, one face among thousands with a security badge. At 29, he looks younger, almost forgettable, the kind of guy you'd pass in the hallway without a second glance. That's exactly why nobody noticed what he was doing. Every morning, Snowden badges into his windowless office, types his password, and watches the digital lives of millions flow across his screen. Not just metadata, not just phone numbers, actual emails, real conversations, your Amazon purchases, your Google searches at 2 a.m. That embarrassing medical question you typed and deleted. It's all there. He discovers PowerPoint slides so classified that most of Congress doesn't know they exist. One slide, titled Prism, lists every tech giant you trust as a data provider. Another diagram labeled Upstream shows the NSA literally cutting into undersea internet cables, copying everything that flows through them. But the tool that makes his blood run cold is called X-Keyscore. The training manual brags it captures nearly everything a typical user does on the internet. Want to know what your ex-girlfriend is doing? Type her email. Boom! Instant access to her entire digital life. No warrant needed. 3 weeks earlier, March 2013, Snowden watched something that changed everything. The Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, sat before Congress. A senator asked him, "Does the NSA collect any type of data on millions of Americans?" Under oath, Clapper answered, "No, sir." Not wittingly. Snowden stared at his screen. He was looking at absolute, undeniable proof that Clapper just committed perjury. The NSA wasn't collecting data on some Americans. It was collecting data on everyone. Your calls, your texts, your location, all of it, stored in massive data centers in Utah, searchable forever. On May 20th, 2013, Snowden boards a flight with 4 laptops and one ridiculous prop, a Rubik's Cube. He'd told Greenwald, "You'll recognize me. I'll be the one holding a Rubik's Cube." Like something out of a Cold War novel. On June 3rd, at the Mira Hotel lobby, Greenwald spots a kid because that's what Snowden looks like, a kid fiddling with the cube. This can't be him, Greenwald thinks. I was expecting someone who looks like they've seen, it looks like he fixes printers. But in room 1014, that printer-fixing kid opens his laptop and shows them the impossible. A secret court order from April 2013. Verizon must hand over all phone records to the NSA. Not some, all. Every call you've made since 2006, stored in a searchable database. Greenwald's hands shake as he reads it. This is it. Proof the government is spying on everyone. The next one, the PRISM slides. Google, Facebook, Microsoft, Apple, every company that swears your data is private. All of them are feeding information directly to the NSA. That private Facebook message to your ex? The NSA has it. That deleted Gmail draft where you vented about your boss? They have that too. Then Snowden shows them upstream. This is where it gets scary, he says, pulling up a diagram. The NSA has physically tapped into the fiber optic cables that carry the internet, every email that crosses the Atlantic, every Skype call that bounces off a satellite. They're copying all of it, storing it, searching it later. But X-Keyscore is the nightmare. One slide shows an NSA analyst's screen. They've typed in someone's email address. Instantly, the system pulls up everything: emails, passwords, credit card numbers, nude photos, medical records. Any analyst can do this, Snowden explains. To anyone. No oversight, no warrant, just curiosity. The journalists work 18-hour days, verifying documents, writing stories that will detonate like bombs. Snowden barely sleeps. He knows the NSA's hunters are already mobilizing. Every day he's free is borrowed time. After 5 days, the first story is ready. Greenwald's finger hovers over send. Once this publishes, there's no going back. The most powerful intelligence agency in history will know they've been exposed. They'll come for Snowden with everything they have. Do it, Snowden says. Click. In 12 hours, the world will wake up to proof that George Orwell was an optimist. But will anyone even care? And when the NSA realizes what happened, how long before they find the source? June 23, 2013, 5 a.m. Hong Kong International Airport. Among hundreds of passengers boarding Aeroflot flight SU-213 to Moscow, one carries no luggage except fear. Edward Snowden, holding a passport that won't be valid in 3 hours, walks past security cameras that definitely recognize his face. The U.S. State Department is screaming at Hong Kong authorities, "Stop that plane." Hong Kong officials respond, "What plane? We have paperwork problems." Translation: China just gave America the middle finger. The plane takes off. Snowden is airborne, technically nowhere, belonging to no country, exactly where he needs to be. The plan, crafted by WikiLeaks' legal team, is brilliant in its simplicity. Fly to Moscow. Don't enter Russia. Stay in international transit. Catch a connecting flight to Ecuador, maybe Iceland, somewhere without an extradition treaty. But this plan assumes one thing, that the US government will play by the rules. At Sheremetyevo Airport, Moscow, the moment Snowden lands, the US cancels his passport. Not suspended, canceled. He's now legally stateless, a person who doesn't exist. He can't enter Russia, no passport. Can't leave, no passport. Can't even buy food, credit cards frozen. For 40 days, Snowden lives in an airport, sleeps in chairs designed to prevent sleeping, eats vending machine food, wears the same clothes for a week. Russian kids take selfies with that spy guy. Meanwhile, the world's only superpower is pulling every string, threatening every ally, burning diplomatic bridges just to grab one man. On July 2nd, 2013, the most insane thing happens. Bolivia's presidential plane, carrying President Evo Morales, gets forced down in Vienna. Why? Someone spread a rumor Snowden might be on board. France, Spain, Italy, and Portugal suddenly closed their airspace to a presidential aircraft. That's like forcing Air Force One to land because you think someone suspicious is aboard. It's unprecedented. It's arguably illegal. But it happened. Austrian officials board the plane. Search it like common criminals looking for drugs. No Snowden. Just a humiliated president of a sovereign nation. Morales later says, "This was kidnapping. If they did this to me, imagine what they'll do to him." On August 1st, 2013 happens the plot twist nobody saw coming. Russia grants Snowden temporary asylum. Not because Putin loves whistleblowers. He definitely doesn't. But because embarrassing America is worth more than American friendship. President Obama, who once promised the most transparent administration in history, is forced to admit there's a problem. January 2014, he gives a speech that sounds like Snowden wrote it. Just because we can do something doesn't mean we should. He announces reforms, creates oversight boards, pretends this was the plan all along. The real victory comes June 2015. Congress passes the USA Freedom Act, ending the NSA's bulk phone collection program. International effects ripple outward. Brazil builds its own internet infrastructure to avoid US spying. Europe passes privacy laws with teeth, billion-dollar fines for violations. China and Russia use Snowden's revelations as propaganda. Tech companies play both sides. Publicly, they're outraged about NSA spying. Privately, they still comply with secret orders. Then comes vindication. September 2nd, 2020. The U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit rules the NSA's phone program was illegal. Always was. The judges go further. They say intelligence officials who defended it weren't telling the truth. Snowden tweets from Moscow, "I never imagined I'd live to see our courts condemn the NSA's activities as unlawful." The intelligence community's verdict is unanimous. Snowden is a traitor who damaged national security. Their evidence? Classified, of course. Trust us, they say. The same people who lied about WMDs in Iraq, who lied about torture, who lied about mass surveillance until Snowden proved they were lying. Today, Snowden lives somewhere in Moscow, has a Russian wife, a child, Russian citizenship he never wanted. He appears via encrypted video link at conferences, still charges no speaking fees, still believes he did the right thing, still can't come home without facing life in prison. The question that matters isn't whether Snowden is hero or traitor. The question is, do you have less privacy or more because of what he did?
This week on LondonReal, we have the entrepreneur and mentor, Dan Pena.
I'm part Freud, part General Patton, and part Jack Welch. Self-esteem is the key to high performance.
Because I came here back in the day to try to make as much money as possible. And that was a big goal of mine most of my life. Ever since I was a little kid, since I was a little munchkin on the school bus, I was selling candy out of my backpack and charging the highest gross margins as possible. And all I wanted to do since I was a little kid was make as much money as possible. And I'm not sure if that was something up in my brain or the American dream manifested in some way. And so that was always a huge goal of mine. And I took it to the extreme. As you can imagine, I do things like podcasts and talk shows and training and all of that kind of thing. And so I got into finance when I got out of school. My degree was in mechanical engineering, but I took all of that knowledge of science and algorithms and went to work on Wall Street and started trading. And I was a little crazy back in the day. I used to watch the movie Wall Street constantly. I used to quote Gordon Gekko.
We were in the shuttle going to the moon. We're history. I mean, we're toast, we're dead, And so I'm very exacting. Earlier today, I had a conference call with my Asian key team, 13 or 14 people. And they think, well, I'm just I'm not fat, but a fat, old, rich chairman. He's probably not going to want to, the day after he lands from a 15-hour flight that turned into 17 and a half hours, he's not going to want to have his weekly meeting. I was there,
Checking the numbers.
And as usual, I'm more prepared than anybody in my staff. I know the questions to ask that aren't in the PowerPoint because, they can show you the PowerPoint on the screen, even though I'm not there. And I ask questions. I ask tough questions.
So detail-oriented. That you were taught that by the military.
Correct.
There's an astronaut named Christopher Hadfield. He's actually a Canadian astronaut, but he spent a good amount of time up in space. He's got a book called An Astronaut's Guide to Life on Earth.
Oh, I just saw that on the internet.
Oh yeah, it's good. I listened to the audiobook actually. And he talks about how as an astronaut, you prepare for every single contingency. Correct. You prepare for all the contingencies that never happen. And he was just saying how just being that prepared, allows him to get through life, in all these ways.
I have another way of saying it: prepare for the worst and hope for the best.
Okay. Yes. And now, do you have a lot of these phrases that you say?
Pennyisms.
Earlier, I said we had a guest on SiliconReal yesterday. She's on the board of the London Stock Exchange, and she said, make decisions on imperfect information. That's what she said. But you had a different way of saying that.
The other way of saying that is perfection equals paralysis.
Okay. So you can never make a perfect decision.
No. If you left it to engineers, no car would ever come off the assembly line. No car would ever come off the assembly line. And I've been in business with enough engineers, I can attest to that with my hand on my heart. They'd still be trying to make it better. And the internet business is very much the same. The internet kids want to test and test and test, and they want the landing page to be this. And roll it out. The great thing about the internet is your results are instantaneous.
And you can make changes instantaneously.
Correct. I mean, creating new contexts that are high performance people that are outside the average of the 5 bums that you hung around with before the seminar. And some of those people that are detrimental to you, unfortunately, are your family. Because, as a parent, we all love our kids and we try to do our best, but we're not trained to be a high performance person. We're just not, unless you're a Rockefeller, unless you're a Kennedy, which is instilled in you for generations. Parents don't have any clue. The only benchmark that we use, did he go to Harvard? Did he go to Stanford? Did he go to Oxford? But there's a lot more benchmarks. Peter Sage is a good example. He didn't go anyplace.
Right. So you're saying you should get rid of your parents potentially?
No. But just remember, they can love you, but giving you business advice is a joke.
Okay.
Unless they fall into one of those categories I just mentioned.
Right. Talk to me about work-life balance. Is this something you instill on these guys? You're talking about Friday night meetings. Do you say that people should take 2 of the 7 days off? Where does that come for you? Is there any work?
No. I'll put it like the CEO of AOL said to on a Bloomberg interview about 2 years ago. And he said the kids were saying, he was in, I forget what school he was at, but he was being interviewed, and he said, well, I'm having trouble getting enough rest. And he jumped out of his chair and said, rest? You can sleep when you're 30. He says, I want somebody that works 28 hours a day and bleeds through his eyeballs.
And you agree with that mentality?
Well, I don't need the blood through his eyeballs, but...
But you think more work is better?
No, more smart work is better.
Okay.
Most people play at their work. Just because you might work 12 hours a day doesn't mean you're working 12 hours. You're staying busy 12 hours a day.
Right.
Okay.
Usually the people that tell you they're working 12 hours a day aren't the ones that are working.
Yeah.
Usually the people that tell you how many hours a week.
I still work. I'm retired at 60, 70 hour a week.
Okay. 60, 70.
60 to 70 hours a week.
Okay.
Okay. And when my wife and I go on cruises, I only work probably 3 to 5 hours a day. I'm on the internet, and then when I go lie by the pool or whatever. But the 67. When I was your age, I worked 100, 120 hours a week.
Jesus, damn, man, you're trying to make me feel bad.
I have people that said, you help me make 50 grand. I have people that say, you help me make 10 grand. And I have so many, 500,000, 1 million, 5 million, 25 million, 50 million.
Okay, so your track record speaks for itself. And,
Correct.
And people have to understand it's hard work.
It's bloody hard work.
You tell people all the time, you try to give them reasons to stop listening to you, to stop subscribing
Unsubscribe to my newsletters. Unsubscribe to my ebook. Okay. In fact, Brian, from a marketing point of view, I stopped selling my product a while back because I found out it's for free on torrent. I didn't even know what torrent was a couple years ago.
Okay.
And I said, fine, I beg you, get it from torrent. Don't bother me.
Because you didn't want to sell it anymore.
No, I don't care. I only got product in the 90s, middle 90s, because somebody said we needed it. You're going to increase your track record for success, which was true. But I didn't know it was going to all be free 10 years later. So now people call me if you want a real crisp copy of the book like I just gave you.
Yeah.
I still sell it to you. But I also tell you that I have tons of free content on my website. I've got enough free content for it to last you a year. Studying every day like a master's degree.
Okay.
But if you really want, and maybe that'll make you a millionaire. If you're not, it'll make you a few bucks. But if you really want baptism by fire, you figure out the scratch credit cards together, whatever you have to do to get to the council seminar.
Right, and see you in the council.
I also have a student plan for young kids.
Right,
and I've got some other stuff, but...
Let me ask you a question. We're very zen here on this show, and we talk a lot about...
I'm here anyway.
Yeah, you're here anyways, exactly. We like to shake it up here and try some different things. What if I said to you, okay, this guy is going to be ultra successful. He's going to make $1 billion. What if I said, Dan, why does it matter what he makes? Or,
it doesn't matter.
Or my question is, to you, that is the ultimate metric of success.
No. Money's not the only thing in life. But it's the only thing anybody keeps track of. It's measurable, accountable. Since the pharaohs.
Okay, right.
Size of the pyramids, etc. Okay.
It's a metric you can keep track
Correct.
of. I wouldn't say it's the only thing people keep track of.
No, it's the only thing that you write down. I keep track of the lives I change now. That's a new metric for me.
Okay, that's a good metric. I like that
Okay.
metric.
I hadn't really thought about it, whether it's Zen or not. It probably is Zen.
It is a little more Zen, yes.
But don't give me too much credit for Zen, more than I deserve. But it's not for everybody. But what I give you, Brian, is the ability to have more choices. I have more. I'm just assuming I have more money than you. So I'm going to say that I have a lot more choices than you do.
Because you have more money than me.
Correct. And I support 3 orphanages. I support 160 girls my wife and I adopted. We support 25 nuns, a few priests. We support the prevention for cruelty to animals. We support all kinds of stuff because I have more choices in life. I take 4 or 5 months a year traveling with my lovely wife because we can make more choices, because we have been successful. I've worked over 40 years. She's almost worked 30 years.
Do you ever think your money can hinder you in some way?
No. If you work hard at it, no. People that don't work, like the young kid Beaver, Justin Beaver, whatever his name is.
Beaver,
he's
yeah.
getting in all the trouble.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, he's young.
But anyway.
If you had that much money at 21, Lord knows what you'd be doing without the military.
Yeah, without the military.
Yeah.
But what he needs is to go to a real boot camp, that kid. That kid needs to go to
Do you ever see guys that come to you and that their success or their obsession with financial success is really plugging an emotional hole that they should find some other way to sort out?
No question about it.
Really?
No question about it. And so and we're not always successful. We're successful most of the time. But we try to make them understand why they've got that emotional hole. And and when we have the private time, you bring in husband and wife. I talk to the husband separately and the wife separately. The husband thinks that everything's Jake, meaning everything's cool.
Right.
Okay. The wife says, I'm going to leave him next month.
And he has no idea.
What a dip, you know?
Okay.
Of course, guys aren't that smart about stuff like that anyway.
Sure.
So, he thinks I love the business. I hate the business. I hate going to the office every day. I hate him and now I hate him going to the office every day. And you have to be in touch, and again, it's communication. In touch, but not just your feelings like in a Zen, but you have to be in touch with other people's attitudes. And a lot of very successful entrepreneurs drive like a Vince Lombardi or a General Patton, but they're not in touch with the 10,000 people they have or the 30 people they have, because they have different desires, different wants. But when we have, in my company's an interviewing process, we have a corporate video that we put out. It's not on YouTube. We have a corporate video that has some of the people that I've trained with some very successful people. And there's one theme across, and I'm just going to give one example. Ted Turner just gave his 75th anniversary party on CNN a few months ago. And he makes a couple of comments, and he says, number one, and I'm not suggesting this for everybody. It's how I lived, though. First 10 years of my starting CNN, I slept on my couch. I didn't have an apartment. Bill Gates slept in the office. Steve Jobs slept in the office. And I can go down a whole list. Now, these are super successful, mega wealthy guys. I slept in my office. Not everybody's willing to make that sacrifice. But it's not the only thing. But even if you don't sleep in your office, if you want to send your kids to a better school, if you want to be able to take care of your mother when she gets dementia, if you want to, this all takes money, not Zen.
Be sure to like and subscribe below. We got more content coming right away.